start doing some streaming. Looks like we are live, and I want to say hello to everybody. We are going to be streaming both here on YouTube and on Amazon because I got in a bunch of stuff. And we wait for the Amazon to go live here, which it has. So I just got in a bunch of stuff, a lot of stuff, and we're going to unbox it all. And I think what I'm going to do with this is have these videos kind of get broken up into stuff for the extras channel as well. And I've got a new camera angle overhead. Isn't that wild? So I just need to adjust things a little bit. What's funny with these cameras that I use here in the studio, they get a little weird on the optics. So take a look at this side of the table. As I zoom in, you can see it gets a little distorted there on the edges. I've been noticing that for years on my main camera here, and it's doing it in other spots as well. So what we're going to be doing is unboxing a whole bunch of stuff. I got a big pile of it here. Most of these things will end up being on the main channel, and some of it will be extras channel stuff, and some things I may just review on Amazon without really a video. So we'll see, what's worthy of a review versus not. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to record this session because we're going to break this up into smaller chunks for the extras channel. So I am going to do that, and I'm going to start recording here. All right, so we'll begin in 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we've got another bunch of stuff to unbox here, and I thought I would do another video of me taking things out of the boxes because you all enjoy watching me do that. So we've got here is a bunch of stuff that has come in from a bunch of different places under a whole bunch of different circumstances, so I will do disclaimers as we roll forward here with the unboxings. And we're also live streaming on Amazon right now in addition to my YouTube channel, so you might hear me reacting to comments that I see coming in. And the first thing we're going to unbox is in this box right here. This I bought with my own funds. It came in from none other than Pat Contri, otherwise known as the NES Punk. And this is his latest and greatest coffee table book. And we're just going to take it out of the box here so you can see what it's all about. And I promise not to cut myself at all during this video, so hopefully everything will be good there. And it's got my mailing address here, but that's okay because it's my secure mailbox there. So let's take a look inside here. Very well packaged. Look at this, bubble wrap plus some of the paper stuff there. And I know Pat will probably watch this as I'm unboxing, so this is the high quality, I'm not saying that sarcastically, high quality packaging job here. And this is a big book. And what he's been doing, he did this with the NES last year, is he's taking all of the SNES games and compiling them into this really nice coffee table book. And I might talk about this a little later on the wrap-up or something. And this now is the SNES guide. And he's covering, I believe, the entire US library. I don't think he goes into the other regions here. And I'm not going to go through the whole book because I'm sure he'd want you to buy it. But look at this, table of contents. He's got all the games here. He's got a team that helped him put this whole thing together. And this is what you get, just like a really detailed overview of every Super Nintendo game that ever came out on the US SNES, game after game, and it is pretty extensive. And they have a review, I believe, of each of these. Yeah, so let me tighten up the shot here a little bit so you can see. So as we get in closer here, you can see he's got the star ratings on every game. Now, granted, this is going to be the rating that the reviewer assigned to it, but it's a really useful guide if you're getting into emulation or collecting to be able to go through all of this. And I think he's got some historical information here towards the back. Yeah, so he's got a lot of write-ups on all the different things that went on with it. They've got the legendary Super Nintendo device here that was going to incorporate a CD-ROM, so good stuff. And this is like one of these great gifts if you are, buying something for an aging gamer in your life. It's pretty good. He did this as a Kickstarter initially. And let me see if he's got my name on here. He's got it all in alphabetical order by first name. So JK, and then let's see, L. Am I on here? I think I was a kid. Yeah, here I am. right there. So you can get my name in the book. Pretty cool stuff. So that is the Ultimate SNES Guide that came in, or that I purchased actually through Pat Contry's thing there. So good stuff there. And let's move on to the next one. It's interesting, I'm not seeing any viewers in the YouTube chat right now. I wonder why that is. Usually I get more viewers on the YouTube side. All right, so we're going to move on to the next item. And that one, let me get my Amazon app going back up here again. That next item is inside one of these boxes here. So now what I'm going to be doing with this one is assigning it the Google Chromecast if you're watching on Amazon, but this is actually something more than that. This is Stadia, and I am late to the game on this. I did buy this with my own funds, and I didn't get a chance to review this yet, and everyone else already has, but we will be doing something on it shortly. Because I started playing around with it the other night, and I thought it was actually halfway decent. Not perfect. And actually, let me take that back. It's not good at all, but it's better than I thought it would be because my expectations were so low. So I think that's partly why I'm a little less going to be less critical of this. I think what I'm going to do in the video that I end up doing is something more along the lines of what is good about Stadia, because we've heard all about what's bad, and it can't be all bad. I did start playing around with it the other night on the last live stream that we did. And what interested me in doing that live stream and playing around with this a bit was that, let's get rid of the paperwork here, or the plastic work. What was interesting about it was that it actually felt like it was pretty responsive. The latency didn't seem as bad as people were saying. And the other thing that really intrigued me was the fact that the game spun up a lot quicker than some of the other streaming services that I have worked with before or played with before. So, you know, there could be some value to this here. And we'll, you know, again, kind of play around with this as we go here. So let's see if people start showing up into the stream now. I think it was set to unlisted. That might have been why. All right, so this is the controller. And it feels pretty nice. It's got, I believe, your PlayStation layout where you have the two sticks at the bottom and your buttons up here. The D-pad has a very, feels a little weird, but we'll play around with that a bit. You've got your analog triggers and a USB charging adapter. It's got a headphone out here. So I'm guessing that is probably going to be useful for private audio listening, and we'll play with that when we do the review. And this is the only piece of custom Stadia hardware that they made for this new platform. And the reason is that they are going to be basically allowing this to work on just about any platform that has a screen. Right now it's kind of limited. And the controller connects over the internet directly to the Stadia servers. So I thought that was probably going to be the most unique feature of Stadia. And I'm not going to start playing with it now because we're just doing unboxings, but we are going to be taking a look at that in a full review that I will be doing hopefully a little later this week. Waffle Eater in the Amazon chat says, is that the Stadia controller? It sure is. And there you go. And this is the Stadia Founders Edition kit. And I have in the Amazon chat the Google Chromecast Ultra highlighted because that is what the Stadia system will ship with at the moment. So this is the 4K Ultra, and this is a Wi-Fi device. I used to have one of these and I sold it, so now I've got it again. So that's the little kit there. And then you've got your power adapter right over here. M. Urena from Amazon is also joining the chat. Welcome. And that's it. So it does have Ethernet here. Let me see if I can switch to the other view. You can probably see it from up there. It does have Ethernet, so you can actually get a hardwired connection with this. And I would actually suggest that you do that because the 4K streaming stuff is going to be something you'll want to do. Also in the Stadia kit here is a little thing about the Stadia team, thanking you for your support. Some getting started stuff on the controller, and of course some stickers. And I might do a separate live stream on me playing around with Stadia when we get it all going, so be on the lookout for that. So that is the Stadia kit. And again, we got a Chromecast, a controller here, and I will be playing with all of this very shortly. And I'm hoping Friday to get a lot of stuff done because the family will be out, everyone's doing their shopping, and I should be able to spend some time down here doing that. So Stadia, that is that. Okay, next item. Let's go update my feed on Amazon here. And the next one is going to be this box. So let's have a look inside. All right, so inside we have the Xbox One WD Black hard drive. This is a 12 terabyte unit. In full disclosure, this came in free of charge through the Amazon Vine program. And I should also mention that WD is an occasional sponsor here on the channel, but they are not sponsoring this unboxing nor the review that we will be doing of this device. So let's have a look inside. I might need to take out my trusty knife here again to open it up. Now this hard drive will work with the Xbox, but it should also work with PCs as well. The price point on this one I think is about $300 at the moment. So a little on the expensive side, but it is a lot of capacity. And if you have a lot of games on your Xbox, this will undoubtedly allow you to play all of them in one go without having to re-download all the time. And we've got here a little stand, and I can switch over to the other view here too. Our power adapter and some stuff. Now this comes with 3 months of the Microsoft Game Pass, and if you haven't heard of Game Pass before, it's actually, I think, one of the best deals in gaming. Now this, unlike Stadia, is at the moment not a streaming service. This is something that allows you to download games and play them as part of your subscription. So that is that. And let's open up the rest of the box here. All right. And this is the hard drive itself. And I saw these at IFA when I was away in Germany recently. And this is what it looks like. Now this looks like metal, but it's not. It's plastic. It's all plastic. So I don't think it looks more rugged than I think it's going to be in practice. So you definitely don't want to be tossing around your mechanical spinning hard drive here. Let's take a look on the back here. The power adapter goes in here. This is a USB 3 hard drive, so you can plug that in there. In the review, what we're going to do is look at how long it takes to load a game up on an Xbox, and then we'll also move it over to my PC and do our usual benchmarks on this as well. So we'll be doing all of that. Now you've got two USB ports here, 7.5 watts total. Which you can use to charge your controllers. So you don't really lose the USB port if you are using your Xbox to charge the controllers. But these will not, I believe, transmit data. This is not a hub, just two USB charging ports. And there's a cooling fan on this as well to keep it cool and having it keep it running consistently. So we will, again, investigate all of that in the full review. And I don't think there's any reason why this wouldn't work on other platforms as well. It is a USB hard drive at the end of the day. You might have to reformat it, but otherwise it should function about the same. And again, you get a 3-month trial to Game Pass as part of the purchase. So there could be, I think it's usually like $20 a month or something. So that's some value there perhaps to maybe look at this, because you'll get some of that investment back if you wanted to do Game Pass. And at a minimum, I think it would probably allow you to extend whatever Game Pass subscription you already have. So keep that in mind with the WD drive. All right, we got a few questions here that I wanted to take before we move on to the next item. Martin Prasad wants to know about Stadia. If it would work, if the controller is needed to play with Stadia games. It is not. In fact, the other night on our last live stream, we were able to play with the Stadia system with just a keyboard and trackpad on a Chromebook, actually. So no, it's not required. But I think the latency as they develop this thing out is going to be better on the Stadia controller, because that controller will not rely on any Bluetooth communication. It's straight Wi-Fi from the controller to the server. And that to me was the most interesting part of Stadia. So we'll see where that goes. All right, next item. Let's see what else we can find here to unbox. I had a few other things. Did I forget to bring some boxes over? Maybe I did not. All right, let's do this next one here. And now I'm not sure what I am unboxing, so let me have a look in here. And I got to make sure I'm very safe with my knife as we cut. And again, I don't remember what this one is, so let's go to camera 4 here. which is actually camera 3, but I have 4 cameras, or 3 cameras and a computer input. This thing's cool. Okay, so this is something that came in full disclosure, free of charge from Unify. These are the folks that make the Unify access points, and I have been a big fan of those Ubiquiti. Actually, Ubiquiti is the name of the company. I've been a big fan of Ubiquiti access points. They really give you like an enterprise level piece of hardware that is not all that expensive. So I have, and there's a video I did probably about 2 or 3 years ago on my channel where I did a bunch of just have an overview of what I'm using the Ubiquiti access points for in my home. And what's neat about these access points, they're Wi-Fi access points, is that they support VLANs, and you can have multiple Wi-Fi SSIDs that point to different VLANs. And why that's important is that, you know, with all this IoT stuff that's out there these days, let me make sure I get the right item selected up here on our Amazon chat screen. When you look at all these IoT devices that are out there, you really want to start thinking about segmenting your network. So your light bulbs and your smart switches and your cameras and all that stuff, you may want to move them off the network that your regular devices are on, because if some light bulb decides to no longer get updated by its manufacturer, they become a point of entry for potential hacking or whatever. So if you have them on a segmented portion of your network, when people try to hack into those things, they'll only be able to see the other light bulbs or whatever on the network if you have them all segmented off. And if you don't have a large house, you could do this with your router's guest network. You can put all the light bulbs on the guest network and segment it that way. But if you're in a larger home like I am, it's a little bit harder to set up those guest networks like that. So what you're basically going to do with a VLAN is build out a separate network segment that uses all the same access points, but they're connecting to a different SSID that keeps them off the network essentially from the rest of your stuff, if that makes sense. And this router is a consumer router. It's a little on the pricier side. It's about $300 or $400, but it does the VLANs internally. And I don't think there are many other consumer routers that do this. And it works really well with my existing Ubiquiti stuff. So we're going to have a full review of this when I get my network re-engineered, because what's going to happen here is that I believe this device will also kind of work as the controller for my Unify access points. And I may have to pick up a few extra smart switches and everything to get it all working. So it's going to be a little bit more of a project. But once it's done, I think I should be able to explain everything to people in a way that I would hope makes sense, and hopefully this explanation I just did makes sense there as well. So let's get the box open here. And again, these guys make great stuff. And I bought the original Unify access points with my own funds. And this is it. So this is kind of a cross between their consumer line and their enterprise line. And it's got a real consumer feel to it. It actually feels more consumer-y than some of the other devices that I've looked at for them. Kind of looks like a big pill. It's got Wi-Fi radios built in, but you've got your 4 Ethernet ports here. And this is, again, a smart switch on the back. And you can configure VLANs on all of these here. And that is a great way to segment out the network. So that is the router component. And I'm really excited to start playing with this, because this has been something I've been meaning to do for a while. And they make other routers, and it was looking a little more complex with their other routers than I thought might work for a consumer audience. So I think this one's going to be the happy medium. And you got a power cable, and of course you're going to plug your cable modem or DSL modem or whatever into here, and then you've got your 4 Ethernet ports. Now, what I'm probably going to have to do is get a few extra small smart switches, because I have one Unify access point down here in the ceiling. That one's directly wired in to my switch over there. So that one's going right in. I could take that one and plug it into one of these ports. But my other 2 are connected to switches in other parts of the house. So the switches they're on have to have a VLAN capable switch so that I can get everything configured. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, it should be fun to experiment with this one and get everything up and running. So that will be probably a post-Thanksgiving project. And I might live stream that configuration. It might be kind of fun to watch me go through all of that. And I got to just do I got to read the manual and everything as well to get things going there. So that is the Unify Dream Machine. I'm not sure if I mentioned what it was when I first opened it up. So the Unify Dream Machine from Ubiquiti Networks. and we will have more to come on that. Got a couple of questions here, a couple of comments. Like Mike said, he tweeted. Sorry, thanks for letting us know. Very helpful. And Sina here says that it looks like a big pill, so open wide on that one. Yeah, it is a very large pill. So there you go. All right, next item. I think I'm going to do the big one here next. This is something that I purchased. So let's get it up on the desk here. Oh my goodness. All right. And this one might challenge our overhead view. All right, so the next item here is an Amazon item, sort of, from Nebula. And I believe Nebula is a subsidiary of Anchor. And they have licensed the Fire TV into a soundbar. So the other day we looked at the Roku soundbar. This essentially is the Fire TV equivalent. And in full disclosure, I paid for this one with my own funds, and I might have to zoom the camera out here a bit when we get into it. I'm just going to update my chat here on the Amazon side so you can see what we're looking at. This one is about $229, so it costs a little bit more than the Roku version. I believe this is a stereo device, although it says it is 2.1 here on the box, which would lead me to think that there might be a subwoofer built into this. So we'll explore this in more detail in a full review that we'll do soon. But in the meantime, we're going to unbox it. And I think what I'm going to do for this unboxing is zoom out my big camera here on the ceiling. And oh, look at that. We can fit the whole thing in here. That's great. So let's get it open here. And open it up. And let's see what is inside. All right. A lot of styrofoam here. And again, I paid for this one with my own funds. And once I finish reviewing it, we will likely have a video or a sale on this one on my store, so you can take it off my hands when I'm done. And let's get it unwrapped here. I'm actually most eager to see the ports on this. So you know what, maybe let's see if we can crack it open this way. There we go. All right. You know what's funny is that it looks like it's got pretty much the same port configuration as the Roku that we had. So we have an auxiliary in, so this is likely going to be for your other devices. It supports HDMI ARC, which the other Roku soundbar supported, and that, of course, will allow you to have all of your TV audio go through the soundbar. But it looks like you've got an optical option and an auxiliary option here if for some reason your TV doesn't support ARC. So that's good because the Roku did not have an analog in. It was optical or HDMI only. There is a USB port on here, but it says this is only for upgrading. So one thing we will check out in the review is whether or not you can in fact get any external storage on this. And I don't have the specs handy as to what kind of Fire TV it has built in, so I will try to get that information in the full review. And it looks like there are some openings here. Let's see if I can get this without crashing the whole set here. There's some openings here for the, I believe, the subwoofer. So yeah, I'm eager to see how this sounds because the Roku one did not have a subwoofer built in. And then we have, in addition to the soundbar itself, we have some cabling here with a quick start guide. So you get an HDMI cable in the box, that's helpful. Power cable, you've got your audio cable. In fact, this is cool because you've got your RCA to your headphone adapter so you can plug in a CD player or something like that. And then of course you've got an optical cable. So they give you all the cables that you need there. And let's take a look at the quick start guide because I'm curious if it has an indicator as to exactly which direction that the optical flows. Okay, so you cannot enjoy Fire TV content if the soundbar and TV are connected using an optical or aux cable. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so the optical here, I'm guessing, is an input, just like it was on the other thing. All right. So I'll have to play around with this and see what some of the limitations are. But it looks like it supports the Fire TV. I'm guessing it's got a voice control, so you can use the Amazon A-word commands. And you can select Bluetooth, I believe, as well, maybe? We'll have to play around with this a little bit. So there you go. Here's the remote. And it looks like an Amazon remote, but it's got the Nebula branding, and there are a few paid placements of buttons: HBO, Amazon Music, Netflix, and Prime Video here. So that is it. So again, soundbar with the Fire TV built in. All right, I just sat on something here. Okay. And now we're going to reset the set here and get our next item up. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to take some questions from all of you. Let's see what we've got here. Jake just wrote to me. Jake is my helper here on the channel. And he looks like he's running behind. There's a house on fire, he said. I hope it's not his house. Let's see, what time is it? It's only... All right, let's see. Say hello to Jake real quick here. He'll be here in a few minutes. So we'll be probably streaming for a little while, and he may pop on camera in a bit. All right, so got some questions to answer before we move on to the next item. Screen Playhouse LLC, have you ever misplaced something that's been shipped to you that you had to return? It has happened a few times. Sometimes what happens is that we'll get something shipped to us, and then occasionally things take too long for us to review, or there's something wrong with it, and then you lose contact with the people, and it gets to be a whole big to-do. But generally, I don't lose anything. I'm pretty good at keeping track of stuff. And especially the things that are on loan to us, I'm really careful about, because those don't belong to me, and I want to make sure whoever owns them gets them back. Martin wants to know for the review, how many VLANs does that device support? I'm guessing it's quite a few, but we'll check on how many for that. Andreas Torner wants to know, are you planning to do any video updates on the Raspberry Pi as a media center for 4K HDR? I don't believe we were able to get the HDR working on the Pi when we did our initial review. I am going to come back to it, though, once some of these apps support it better, like Libre Elec and that sort of thing, because those apps were not supporting the new Pi 4 when it first came out. And Win32 application wants to know, can I use Sound Blaster 16 on Windows 10? That's a good question. I guess if you have an ISA bus and there's drivers for it, yeah. I think the Sound Blaster 16 was an ISA card, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good question. I don't know if you can run Windows 10 on really old hardware. That might be a fun thing to do. Maybe take out an old, find the fastest Pentium that still has the ISA card slots and see if it supports it. It might, because there's a lot of use cases out there for that. All right, now we've got two more things to unbox before we just take some general questions here. So let me get this aligned here. And all right, so the next item, let me start from this point, and I think this is one that may not be on Amazon. It is not. All right, ready to go. So this next item, so let me start again. I'm recording this for the Extras channel, 3, 2, 1. So this next item we are unboxing came in from Lenovo, and in full disclosure, Lenovo sponsored us a little while back, but they're not sponsoring this video or unboxing. And this is on loan, as all of their products are from Lenovo. I'm just going to get the camera zoomed in here to unbox which one this is. I forget what's in here, actually, so it'll be a surprise to me. And let's get the box open. And this, I think, is the mystery. It's well wrapped. Ah, yes. So this is the Lenovo Smart Display 7. This is not for sale yet on Amazon. I'm sure it will be at some point in the very near future. And if you've seen the Google Home displays, now they're called Nest displays. This is the Lenovo version of the smaller one. So Lenovo had two of these out last year that we looked at, but both were much larger than the Google offering. This one is more in line with the Google offering. I believe this one's a 7-inch display, just like the Nest display. And what they're shooting for here are things and features that are not in the Google version. So they're promising better audio quality, which of course we will explore in the full review. This one also has a camera so that you can do voice chats with people with Google Duo. And what's nice about the camera on this, like many Lenovo products, is that they have a physical shutter. So if you're not comfortable with that camera being attached to your always listening device, there is an actual shutter here in the back that will block the camera. So that might give you some peace of mind there. It's got nicer speakers here at the bottom. It's not that large, and there isn't much else to see here that we can cover in an unboxing beyond maybe unbox the power supply. And let's see what we've got here for that. So you got your power adapter here. This looks like it is a 20 volt 1.5 amp output. And what I usually do with these devices is I do measure the power load on them when I do the review, because these things it's good to know what kind of electricity usage you'll be expecting from this when it's on standby. Again, this is on loan from Lenovo, and we're going to have a full review of this very shortly on the main channel. All right. These are always fast to unbox because there's not much to see until you boot them up. And they're hard to review also because I think, it's funny, when these things first came out, it was something that you would really spend a lot of time explaining what they do. But now that the A-Word and the Google Assistants and all these other devices are very ubiquitous, I think consumers kind of know what these things are about. So it's a matter of now trying to find the differentiating features in them versus a full education as to how these things are operating. Martin Prasad says it would be good to see a side-by-side with the Nest Home Max. And I don't have the Nest Home Max, but I do have what is now the Nest Home, so I could probably show that. Hot Sauce and Video Games is here. Welcome to the stream. We're just doing some unboxings, and this started late for a lot of you because apparently they have so many different settings on the YouTube streaming interface, and apparently this stream was set to unlisted. And I think I had confused something earlier, and I don't know. So we'll see how this comes together when it's all over with. I do have one more thing to unbox, and I think a lot of you who like my PC reviews are going to love this next one. So let me get it out on the table here, and I'll update my Amazon stream to let everyone know what that item is going to be. And some of this stuff will be guiding our work for the next week. So we've got a lot to do. And I just want to see what this YouTube stuff can get confusing, because what I don't like to do when the stream ends is to have this push itself out as a full video. So I'm just trying to see what will happen when this is done. See, yeah, it's set to public. I don't know what's going to happen, so I'll just make sure that I just quickly move this to unlisted after we're done here. So that is what we're going to do. All right. All right, we got some folks in on the chat who wanted to say hi. So Dapster, what did he miss? Missed a couple of things. But you can rewind after we're done, and I'm going to actually we're going to break this video up a little bit and just upload it as a single video for you all on the main channel. Cameron jumped in here. Thanks for the stream and all of your wonderful content. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching. I'm doing more streams now. I'm doing this stuff with Amazon, so we're streaming on YouTube and on Amazon. So you can check me out in both places. And I always end these streams in a total mess, but we're not done yet because we got at least another half hour to go here. And I got another box to unload here on all of you. So let me get this one open. Now this next item is from Lenovo. In full disclosure, they sponsored us a little bit earlier in the year, but they're not sponsoring this unboxing. And this is another PC that they sent to us on loan. So I'm just going to put the box down here for a second, and I'm kind of excited about this one too, because, oops, lots of paper there. This is a mini PC, and we don't see too many mini PCs from Lenovo here. We're going to be sending this back to them when we're done reviewing it, and that review will, of course, be on the main channel very shortly. So let's get this thing open. This is a Think Center. And the Think line is mostly like their enterprise devices, but I think a lot of folks can find some use for them on the consumer side as well. And this is a desktop PC. So let us see what is inside. We'll start off with this box here, a box within a box. How about that? And as we open it, what do we have? Well, we've got a DisplayPort adapter. So it's USB-C to DisplayPort. We have a power adapter, and this is using the Lenovo power adapter thing here. It's not a USB-C adapter. And I think it's their standard 65-watt adapter here. And when we look at the PC, we'll determine whether or not you can do any USB stuff. You got a Wi-Fi antenna for the wireless that is undoubtedly built into this thing. We're kind of doing this backwards because we haven't actually unboxed the computer yet, but that is everything in the accessory box here. So let's put all this back together. And one thing that, just to answer the earlier questions, we're streaming live right now, incidentally, and somebody asked if I ever lose things that come in from manufacturers. Occasionally, we misplace some of the power adapters. So I have about like 4 or 5 extra Lenovo power adapters right now that sometimes don't make it back to them. So every once in a while, I just send them a box of all the extra stuff that we forgot to send back earlier. This looks like a keyboard and a mouse, so I will do this one after we do the PC. So let me put that down there for a second. That's my little care package, so I can get it back to them. Oh, wow. Now, I didn't realize how small this thing was going to be. Check this out. Let's go to my other view here. This is it. Look at this. This is cool. So this is the Lenovo ThinkCentre M90N1. And this is the computer. It's a tiny little mini PC. It's got a Core i5 and 8th gen chip. I'm pretty sure that this one is running with the U-series processors. I think there's a fan on here. There's plenty of venting on it. So this should give you kind of like a laptop level of performance with its i5 that's built in. Let's have a look at the ports here after I take off some of the plastic. But it is really, really lightweight, and it's got a nice feeling build to it. I would imagine, I didn't see anything in the box to VESA mount it, but I would guess there's probably a VESA mounting kit that you can get, so you can just kind of put it on the back of a monitor if you wanted to do something like that. So let's get the stuff undone here. All right, so on the front, we have the power button. We have a USB Type-C port. This is a Gen 2 port, so it's 10 gigabits per second rated. 2 USB 3.0 ports, also Gen 2. Headphone, microphone jack. On the back, we've got power, DisplayPort out. So it's interesting, they gave us a DisplayPort adapter, plus it does have its own DisplayPort on there. And then we've got the USB Gen 2 port here, another USB-C. Now this one they're saying does display out and data. So we'll take a look at these ports and see if the front one can do everything the back one does. But I would imagine that given that they're labeling this one, if I can get in a little bit closer here for you, given that they're labeling this one with a separate DisplayPort icon, I have a feeling that this is the only display output you'll get beyond the DisplayPort there. Interestingly, no HDMI, but of course you can get an adapter for that. USB 3.0 Gen 2 here, and then you've got gigabit Ethernet and a Kensington lock. This thing's really cool. I like the size of this. Look at that. That's really neat. So we're going to, once Jake gets here, he's going to start testing this, and we'll get a full review up shortly. You don't expect great performance on the gaming side, but I think it will do well for a lot of other stuff. And of course, this is more of an enterprise-driven device, and we'll test all sorts of things, Linux and gaming and all of that good stuff. So stay tuned, more to come on this little guy. It's pretty cool stuff. So neat. All right, I'm excited about this one. This one looks like it'll be a fun mini PC. What I like about small form factor PCs is that when they have the real Core i5 built in, because that really does make a difference in performance. A lot of times you're compromising on that. And you know what we'll do too is we'll test and see how well it might do as a home theater device to see if it's got decent 4K output, because I would imagine it'd be pretty quiet. Now, I don't think it's upgradable. I'm just trying to see where you might take it apart. Let me see if there's any screws under the feet here, because if there is a way to take it apart, maybe we'll do that real quick and just see if we can upgrade it and get inside of it. Let's take a look. I'm just trying to get the little feet off. A lot of times they put the screws under the feet, the little rubber feet that are on these things. Yeah, there's only one screw. I can't imagine this being that easy to get into. But you know what? While we're here, we may as well do that. So here, let's have an overhead look at this thing. And I am going to go and find my screwdriver set and see if we can get into this thing easily. And this is always an appetite for disaster, or a potential for disaster, when I start taking out the screwdrivers. And of course, the screwdrivers are missing as usual, but I will find them in a second. I'm just going to unlock the door here for when Jake arrives and get him going. So where did I put the screwdrivers? And right now, I think I've often talked about how my studio is a total disaster, and today is no exception to that, because we're just cranking stuff out because this is the holiday shopping season, so you got to be really, going nonstop here to make sure that you've got everything covered. So I think this screwdriver might fit that screw, even though I can't find the rest of my screwdriver kit at the moment. I've got this great screwdriver kit that has all of the pieces and parts that you need to do this kind of thing. All right. Oh, good. That one fits right in there. Thank you, Imre, for your super chat contribution. Yeah, and that screw, as expected, doesn't do much here. So, you know what I might do is look for the, yeah, there's a couple other holes here, but those are not for the other thing. So what I might do before we do anything else is see if there is a maintenance manual. One of the things that Lenovo does a very good job with is keeping track of the maintenance stuff, especially on the Think series devices, because these often end up in IT departments. And of course, people in IT want that flexibility. So I'm just going to do a quick search for the ThinkPad M90 N1 maintenance manual. And let's see if we can find some info on this thing real quick. Data sheet. Yeah, I'm sure we'll find something there. But it's a pretty cool little machine. I like the form factor quite a bit. Now these start, depending on what you're looking for, like $329, and they kind of go up from there. The one we have, yeah, these are U-series processors. So it looks like it's a pretty well put together machine. And you know, you think about what a laptop uses. Well, this is what the laptop uses. So that is something of interest there. Jack Mitchell on the Amazon chat says I should do a video about my streaming setup. I would actually love to do that. I do have a video on my YouTube channel about my actual setup here. And what's interesting is that I'm using a TriCaster. So the TriCaster is able to record video like I'm doing now and stream it out live and do it to two different sources. But I think it might be fun maybe to dedicate an Amazon chat just to my setup, because there are some different ways to approach this without having to spend as much money on a TriCaster. I got the TriCaster because it's just less aggravation for me, so I can turn it on and it just works. And they just came out with a new TriCaster that I am seriously considering upgrading to. I'm trying to see if they're going to have a trade-in offer on it, just so that I can recoup some of the value of the existing one. This TriCaster now is about 5.5 years old, almost 6 years old, so it's definitely time to look at something different. And what I'm looking for right now, everybody, I'm just trying to see if they have a service manual for this. Lenovo typically does have service manuals on most of their products, so I just need to track it down here on Google, because I'm just curious to see if this thing is upgradable or not. I've been finding lately on the ThinkPads in particular, like the X1 we just looked at, they have been soldering the RAM on, but not the storage. And I wonder if this one might follow the same path there. So, but look how tiny it is. I think it's a great little laptop, desktop. And on the YouTube chat, it looks like Imre wants me, from his super chat contribution, which again, thank you for that. He wants me to cover more small and silent PCs. And I would like to. You know, I haven't seen much lately, and I think part of the problem is that Intel has been focused on higher performance, higher profit margin devices, so we haven't seen a lot of development of the low-end chips. The Gemini Lake processors now, I think, have been out for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, and that's been driving a lot of the mini PCs. And it's really kind of surprised me, too, actually, that we're not seeing more small PCs like this, because they're tremendously value-packed, and this might be why we're not seeing more of them, because you can buy one for 150 or 200 bucks, and for a lot of people, it's all the computer you need. So to get into something with a more expensive processor for a lot of folks may not be really worth it, and I think maybe some of these companies are seeing that it's a little bit pricier or a little bit less profitable to do that. So again, I'm just trying to find the service manual for this. I don't think there is one yet. That could be. Let's see. Let's go look up on their support page here. This is the M90 N1, and let's see if we can find anything on this yet. It looks like it may be really new. Let's see, M90. It's called the Nano. Yeah, there's nothing here yet. So I might try to figure out a way to get into this. I'm just trying, I need to be careful because these do come in on loan that I don't break them. So that's something you got to be mindful of. I would bet you that you probably can't upgrade the RAM on this, just given the size, but I could be wrong about that. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to get into it. If I could find my toolkit, and actually I have it somewhere around here. Let me just see if I can find it again, because I have some tools that can get these cases open, and it might just be a single screw that's holding it together. So I wasn't planning on taking it apart here, which is why I was not prepared for that part of the stream here. But let me see if I can find it somewhere here. I did have it out just the other day. And sometimes my wife comes down here and grabs it to fix other stuff in the house, so she may have relocated the toolkit. Oh, here it is. All right, so let's try this again. And let's see if we can open up the little Think Center here and see what is inside. So now this toolkit, I should add this to my Amazon stream here right now, because this thing has been, I got this during a Prime Day sale about a year or two ago. Maybe it was a Black Friday sale. Really good for what it is. Now, it's not the highest quality toolkit, but it came with everything you need to kind of crack open a computer. And that was really useful. There is one more piece to this that I have to go back and get real quick from my toolkit here. Let me see if I can add one more item to the stream here. And this is a Orea. Oops. Let's see if it's still sold. A lot of times these things change. Oh, here it is. Okay. Yep, this is it here. I'm going to add it to the stream. So if you're on Amazon, you'll see this now pop up down below. This is the Orea Precision Screwdriver Set. $16 for this. So it's not expensive at all, even when it's not on sale. I think I paid less when it was a Prime Day thing. So very reasonably priced. And what it comes with, if I can find them, are these little plastic spudger things that can allow you, it helps you pry things open. So a lot of times these laptops and everything are so heavily constructed that the plastic is really tight and snaps together. So you have to get one of these. These come in the kit, by the way. Get one of these little plastic things that just kind of nudge it open. So I'm just going to unscrew the screw here again. And sometimes it's like a little puzzle to figure out exactly how it's put together. So that's part of the issue. Okay, so it looks like there is a little tab right here at the top. So we should be able to kind of pry it open a little bit to see if it works. And by the way, there's some discussion in the forum about why would Amazon want to do another live streaming platform when they have Twitch. Well, the reason is that this is Amazon Shopping that we're on right now, and this is where people come to buy things. So the live streaming really helps because let's say you're a customer just browsing Amazon and you're looking for something, finding an expert that you can jump on a chat with might be really useful. So I think that's why they're looking at doing a little bit of live streaming here to help customers, because it's hard to get sometimes a good answer through an online shopping experience. But if you can offer the customer something like that, I think it could be very valuable. All right, so it does have a fan, as we can see here. And there's a heat sink over this area, which is probably where the processor is located. And I see an arrow here pointing up. I'm not sure if it's directing me to kind of further extract itself from this thing. I'm trying not to crack the plastic here as we're going. So this looks like it pops off like this. So, and you can see why having one of these tool sets is really, really important to have, so that you can get some of these plastic pieces separated, because they're not glued in, but they're snapped in such a way that it's hard to get things out. So, and sorry, I just got to respond to a quick message here on my phone. I think she's buying me some jeans or something. So let's see if I can get this open here. I'm trying not to bleed on camera. That's a violation of the terms of service for most of these platforms. And I'm also trying not to break this either, because I'm sure my friends at Lenovo are probably watching me take apart their computer right now. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like this thing's in there pretty good. So let's see if we can get this red portion here lifted up before we jump into that part there. And I am sure that people are going to be critiquing my method here, but there we go. So it looks like that does pop up a bit. And sometimes you'll find that there is a screw somewhere that's holding things together. So it looks like this red thing comes off here like this. And I've also found it's more fun to take apart things than it is to actually put them back together. So as a kid, if I was going to go and do any kind of work, the demolition was more fun than the construction portion for me. Oops. There might be another screw back here under this. No, it looks like that's going there. Let's see. This does not want to give up the goods. Again, I don't want to force anything because this is something that I have to return to them. My guess is, as I said before, just trying to see if there's any way to get this metal plate off. It looks like maybe it might slide. Oh, look at this. Okay, I think the whole thing. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this whole thing kind of slides forward. So let me get this part off again. And when they post the service manual, this gets a lot easier to work on. Like I said, Lenovo does a really good job with their service manuals, so that stuff can be really valuable even when you're evaluating the product, because if you can avoid having to take it apart altogether and look up the service manual, it'll often say what parts are replaceable and sometimes even the process by which you take things apart. Okay, here we go. So now perfect. Okay, we are in. So it looks like we've got, this is neat. We've got two M2 slots on here, M2 NVMe, I'm assuming here. So you could, this is PCI Express, so you can put in, it's got one drive in already, and it's got a slot for a second drive. Now this blue stuff here is a heat sink that kind of keeps everything cool. And if you're curious what PC this is the M90N1. And I'm going to do, in a second, I'm just going to record a little section for our unboxing video. So that's cool. So it looks like you've got some upgradability here. And they put the fan right, and this is not a bad thing at all. They put the fan right next to the drive, so that's going to keep it a little bit cooler as well. Because these drives, these NVMe drives heat up, and a lot of them will slow down the hotter they get. So it's good to see that the cooling fan here is not only cooling the processor. I'm sure there's a pipe going to the fan. I can't see it here. But it also is looking like it will keep the hard drives cool too, because cooling is always a real challenge on these little tiny computers. Now there's a screw here, so this is screwed in. This is just where the drive is screwed in. And they don't give you another screw for the second drive, but those are easy enough to find. And you can put in both sizes, the half size and the full size. And what you could also do with this will be completely impractical, but they have adapters that we've looked at before that you could put in here and actually put on a GPU to it if you wanted to. This doesn't have Thunderbolt, so you can't connect up a Thunderbolt drive to it, unfortunately. And it looks like this component here can slide off. So let's see if we can get the rest of this case. Oh, here we go. All right. Look at this, folks. We are in. Yeah, so I'm not seeing any upgradable RAM in here because it's got to be soldered on. There's just no way you're going to get some RAM in there. And I'm not taking the heatsink off. We're not going that far, folks. But you can see how the fan mechanism works here. It's drawing the heat away from the heatsink, from the processor, and blowing it out. It looks like straight down. And this is the intake over here. Cool stuff. Very neat. All right. So what I'm going to do real quick here is just talk a little bit about upgradability. So let's pick up that shot and go from there. And I'm probably going to shoot an intro to this also because I don't think I just said the product name when I started here. Again, this is on loan from Lenovo, by the way. 3, 2, 1. Now, if you're curious as to what is inside, there is some limited upgradability for storage, but not on the RAM. So we did take it apart, and we were able to see that there are actually two PCI Express slots here that you would use an NVMe drive in. So we've got the two, let me start that again. They're actually M321. So we did take it apart to see what is inside. You can upgrade the storage, and I was surprised to see that you have room for two NVMe drives here. There's one installed, of course, and you've got a second slot here. Now, you could put in an adapter and have a GPU running on top if you want, but it'll look kind of ridiculous like that. But that's an option for what you could do in that second slot. This slot, of course, is occupied by an NVMe drive. Then you've got your wireless card there. On the flip side here, you can see where the CPU heatsink is located. The RAM is soldered on, so you're going to be locked in with whatever RAM configuration you choose. And the processor, of course, is also soldered on, but it's a pretty efficient design here. We'll definitely test and see how well it does under load to see if there's any thermal throttling and also how loud that fan gets too. And it looks like the fan is also helping out the main storage drive here too, so that might help in keeping the storage speeds consistent when it's under load. So good stuff. We're going to put it back together here and get it booted up and do a full review soon on the main channel, so stay tuned. All right, good stuff. And I think what I'm going to do here is just film and shoot an outro for the, I may do like this as a main channel unboxing video too, so we'll see how that might work. So let me just shoot that real quick. 3, 2, 1. All right, so that's going to do it for this latest unboxing here on the channel. I know you all love me unboxing stuff, so hopefully you had a good time watching this. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you who are celebrating, and we'll be back with reviews of hopefully all of this stuff over the next couple of weeks. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching. Boom. All right. So the recording is done. And what I was able to do on my TriCaster was just have this whole session just kind of run out. And then I'm going to toss this over to Jake when we're done recording, and he's going to edit something together for us so we can put it up on the main channel. One of the issues with live streams is that there tends to be a lot of dead air on them, which works when you're streaming live because you want to interact with people, but it doesn't always work so great for people that are tuning in later. And I found sometimes when you've got a 2-hour stream that you're just putting out to the subscriber base, they often don't want to watch it. But if you can get it down to 25 minutes or so, that tends to be something a little bit more digestible. So that is good stuff. So I'm going to put this thing back together now. Martin Persad, thank you very much for your super chat contribution. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I appreciate that. And we'll see if this thing comes back together the same way it came apart. We'll see how it goes here. Let's see. I'll take some chat comments here as well. Fast Too Furious says, YouTube, if it bleeds, we can ban it. Yes, exactly. So that's why we don't want to bleed too much here on the channel. Imre Kasabi has the Pepper Jobs PC, which I really like. That's a really neat little PC. That reminds me, too, I have a portable display from them that we have to review as well. So I need to get cooking on that. And what I can't remember is which side this part goes on. This is the bottom. So which side is the bottom? This is the bottom. Okay. Uh-oh. So there's this thing here. So let's see how this lines up here. See, I never take note of, there it is. Okay, it goes in like that. All right. So he's got to get it all to snap together again without breaking it. But you have to, you know, from the Lenovo standpoint, they know that I am prone to take things apart because you all want to know. The viewers want to know. And one of the important things about, and I think the value of independent reviewers is that you would think sometimes like a negative review a company wouldn't like, but the best companies welcome the negative reviews because if they can prevent a dissatisfied customer, that allows for the company to improve and make things better in the future. And what I try to do when I review things is to think about different use cases because there might be a computer or a piece of consumer electronics that is not good for one type of person but might be good for another. And so you have to think about all that stuff before you say something is a bad product because not every product is universally bad. It might be good for one particular use case. And I might approach the Stadia review in that guise because there could be some value to it. As I was playing with it, I felt like Stadia was booting the games very quickly. So I'm going to try to find some of the more positive things to talk about, just given how much Stadia is getting trashed. So that's it. But this will be a fun little PC. I'm actually eager to see how this one performs, because it will. This will be something, and this will probably take a little bit more time for us to prep here in the studio, because we've got to look at the home theater performance with it, because it could be a good home theater PC. Does it support 4K HDR, right? That's a question. Does it support all the lossless audio? That's the kind of stuff we need to look at when we do the full look at this one. So we've unboxed quite a bit of stuff here. I'll take a few more questions on thing here. Mr. Foodman wants to know, is it using a desktop processor or a mobile one? It's using a mobile U processor. So it's not a full desktop chip, but it's one of the higher, probably the mid to high end of the laptop line. This is an i5 8th generation U chip in this one. I think they've got an i7 on this one as well. Let's see who else is asking some questions here. I think I already answered your question. I'm sorry. Well, I answered it again. Yeah, so Fast Too Furious says, I can't wait for Linus to use one of those PCI Express slots for a 2080 Ti. Yeah, you could definitely put them in. Now, it looks like the PCI Express slots are 2 lanes, so you might start hitting the limit of the amount of data bandwidth you could get out of that 2080 Ti, but it will work. It'll just look a little flaky. I really wish this had Thunderbolt ports on it, because that would certainly make it a little bit more useful for that kind of thing, for sure. Sausage Wizard says, what a pro, thank you very much. Isn't Amazon going to do some game streaming as well? I think they might. I haven't heard anything about it, but I actually, no, I did. I did read somewhere that there was, that Amazon was looking at game streaming as well. And they have, of course, a lot of capacity. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these other streaming services you've seen are using Amazon servers. In fact, I was playing around with, what's the name of that streaming thing that's out there? There's a streaming service app that does connect up with Amazon AWS for some game streaming. We were playing Doom on it, actually. It's expensive because you got to pay by the hour for it. And that's the one thing. Game streaming as a hosting provider, if you don't have the capacity, it's incredibly expensive, because you need to allocate some tremendous resources to somebody to play that game. And then, of course, the network bandwidth to stream it back and forth. Cameron asks a good question here. How long do I typically spend with a device before settling on my opinion? It varies. The PCs are almost formulaic now for me, because there are, it's funny, when I first started doing PC reviews, I would spend a lot of, I would do a review, put it up, and then there'd be a bunch of questions that would come back in, and I would do a follow-up. So a lot of times in the early days, if you go back to like my 2014 and 2013 work, you'll see 3 or 4 videos on one computer. And what I was doing in the course of that work was making note of what viewers were asking for, and I've put all of that now into the full review. So this PC, I would expect will probably spend, maybe 2 or 3, 4 hours on it. Part of that time is just getting software installed. And what's nice about it is that during the software installation process, you get a feel for how it performs just generally. And then shooting of the video takes about 2 hours or so. This will probably spend an extra couple of hours just getting all the home theater stuff tested on it too. So I would say all in, you're looking at about 5 or 6 hours for something like this. Other products take longer, especially things I don't typically look at because I have to figure out what's there. What I rely on as a guidepost is I look at what is the manufacturer marketing this product as, to kind of measure against. And so some people were unhappy with my NVIDIA Shield review recently because their big marketing claim was 25% greater performance, and I didn't see that in the areas in which I thought a lot of enthusiasts would be looking for that performance in. So that's what I look for. Is it meeting the marketing that the company is putting together? A lot of the larger companies will send a reviewer's guide, which is also helpful because that elaborates on the marketing claims, and that gives you some direction to test and validate if those things are true. So I look for that. And there are things that I find that are just really cool features that I like to talk about as well. So those are the kinds of things that I'd look for. So it really varies based on the products. But again, the PCs now are kind of formulaic. We run some games on them. We get things going. And to a large extent, PCs are very much a commodity. It's the same hardware configured differently by different manufacturers. Typically nowadays, because so much is running on the chip itself, you don't see a big performance variance from one i5-based computer to another. So we look for maybe some areas where there is a variance, up or down, to talk about. But generally, you kind of know what you're getting into with the PCs these days. So hopefully that answers your question. Fast 2 Furious 4 says, game streaming is very appealing to me. He can play games on his laptop without having to spend $1,000 on a new PC. And I think that's what Google and NVIDIA and a lot of these other companies are banking on, that, I think people are seeing, gamers are seeing the graphics of a high-end gaming PC on YouTube and Twitch, and they're trying to figure out, how can I get that at home? And then they look at the price point. You could spend $1,500 on a 2080 Ti GPU without the computer even. So it might cost you $3 or $4 grand to put together a really high-end gaming PC that one of the streaming providers can essentially stream to you for $15-20 a month or whatever. And I think that's a value point. The challenge, of course, is the bandwidth. So if you have a cap from your internet provider, if you're doing 4K gaming, that's going to eat up that cap really quickly. I don't have a cap where I live here in the Northeast, in Connecticut, but other states do. So that's kind of the trade-off there is the data caps. And you might have to end up spending more for an unlimited data cap. I think Comcast charges like an extra $50 or something, whatever it is. And for some people, that might be worth looking at. The funny thing was, when I first started measuring or monitoring my data usage, is that my usage was well under the terabyte a month that most people have as a cap. Even as a computer nerd, that was my usage, was well under a terabyte. And then I had kids, and now with all the Netflix streaming and the Amazon Prime Video, they're using up like a lot of data. So it's kind of funny how all of that works. So I hope you enjoyed the unboxing, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I do these all the time. And the best way to know when I'm about to do one is to click the notification bell. I believe if you are on Amazon watching me, there's going to be a way to follow me soon. So be on the lookout for me there. Nick F., before I go, though, has a good question here. I really want an embedded Plex device like a Plex stick. Plex is my main source of content, and I have a huge library. That's a good idea, like an embedded Plex server. I never thought of that. That'd be kind of a neat product, wouldn't it? So it just so happens I'm going to be on a call with them. I may suggest that to them a little later this afternoon. Mr. Foodmoon can get 1 gigabit per second on Comcast downstream, but they still have a 1 terabyte data cap. Yeah, you blow through that data cap real quick with that gigabit speed. Yeah, I think if you get that gigabit service, you should definitely pay extra just to get the thing completely mixed there. Chad Cole wants to know, any recommendations for a pre-built home theater PC for under $1,000? So I'll talk briefly about that. And actually, you know what? I might grab this question for the wrap-up later this week, because this is I think something well worth talking about right now. So here's the deal with home theater PCs. And we're starting to see this now because you might have heard Plex making some changes to their platform. I don't know if Windows is going to be the preferred home theater platform rolling forward, in the sense that we're seeing there's an issue here with getting all the components of Atmos and HDR and 4K working properly on regular operating systems. I think if you maybe install Libre Elec on a straight up boot, there might be a little bit of an easier path there, but I've had a really hard time, now that I do a lot of 4K stuff, getting 4K Atmos HDR working with desktop PCs on my home theater upstairs. What does work? The NVIDIA Shield. Even the 2015 Shield works great for that. So I would suggest to you, and you may be looking at doing something totally different than what I'm suggesting, but my suggestion to you would be to look at the Shield versus a PC for your living room. It's a lot less expensive. You can attach external storage relatively easy to it. The NVIDIA Shield Pro will be the Plex server if you want it to be. So you have all of that. It will work much better with 4K, Atmos, HDR. All that stuff just works. You've got all the apps like Netflix and Prime Video that just work with Atmos and HDR, even Dolby Vision now in the new Shield. And I think that you might want to go in that direction. If you want super high performance for gaming, that's a whole nother story. But I do think that media streaming, especially for someone looking to buy a home theater PC right now, the NVIDIA Shield is probably the way to go on that because it just does it better. And I have a feeling this is where the focus is going to be. So I started answering this question with the Plex. I'm just putting this in my notes for the weekly wrap up this week so I don't forget about it. So I started this conversation mentioning Plex. And the thing that Plex is doing now is they're getting away from their current home theater application and switching to basically a web wrapper of, you just install as an app on your Windows PC. So I think, you might want to look at the Shield just because I just don't see PCs doing that well at it. I might be wrong. I'm going to look into seeing where Open or Libre Elec is right now because that might have some of that HDR stuff that's been missing. But, I would just keep that in mind. I'm just going to make my note here. Excuse me for 1 second. That's a really good question that I've been meaning to cover, and I just keep forgetting to talk about it. And I think that's going to be a great thing to have. So I'll add that to the mix there. Kenneth Fearson has an iPad Pro, 512 gigabytes. He has 12.0 firmware, but wants to upgrade to the latest version. I'm afraid if I do, all my music is going to be erased. So Kenneth, I would ask you, and maybe you can answer in the chat, where is the music coming from? Because more than likely, it's not going to impact any of the music, especially if you bought it from Apple. If you have music stored on the device somewhere inside of an app, that might impact it. You might want to back it up. I don't know how you're storing your music, but I have not heard of anyone losing what they've purchased. Again, if you've got your own music stored somewhere, you probably do want to make sure you've got a backup there. But I'm pretty sure the process of listening to music is similar, even though they've made some changes. But yeah, let me back up. Here's my advice to you. I would look at if you have music loaded onto it manually, make sure you have that music backed up somewhere so that you can put it back on if it does go away. So that would be my advice to you on that. And Mr. Food Moon says the new Shield remote will be available by the end of January 2020. Yeah, that I tested that a little bit earlier on my 2015 NVIDIA Shield, and it does work. So I think that's a good pick if you don't like the current Shield remote. My only gripe about the new Shield remote is it doesn't have private listening. So that's something I use a lot on my Shield up in my bedroom. So I would love for that to have that on there. All right, everybody, I got to go jump off here because we got a bunch of stuff to do in the studio. Jake is going to be here any minute, and I want to get him working on some edits. And I've got some reviews to work on. We've got some videos to upload. I got like 3 in the hopper right now. We got to get them off the hard drive and onto the platforms that we upload to. I want to thank everyone who tuned in, both here on YouTube and on Amazon. And I'll try to do more of these in the evenings in prime time, which will work better for a lot of folks. But whenever I'm able to, I pop on. I want to thank everyone who stopped in to say hi. I also want to thank Imre Sabi and Martin Persad, both for their super chat contributions. They both were from the UK. They came in British pounds. Oh no, one is euros and one is pounds. So thank you for the international contributions, everybody. I appreciate that. And I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful Thanksgiving if you are celebrating that wonderful holiday. We'll see you all soon. The cooking is starting up here pretty soon, and I can't wait to get my Thanksgiving feast on. And I will see you all very, very soon. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.